Just as I expected, I came across one of Nigeria's biggest church leaders declaring 100 days of fasting for Nigeria. He said the country will soon experience peace after the church's 100-day fast is over. Now, it will be completely delusional to think that these people do not know that these prayers and fasting absolutely do nothing to improve Nigeria's trajectory. Yet every new year, we start with these prayers for a better Nigeria. So I'm asking this morning, what more do you want God to do for Nigeria? Because if nations across the world were to argue as to who is God's favorite child, Nigeria will undoubtedly be seen as one of God's favorite children. God gave Nigeria everything, way more natural and human resources than most countries on earth. Arable land, no natural disasters, fantastic weather for agriculture, some of the most brilliant minds on earth. A people with the skills to thrive in any part of the world that we have found. God didn't fail Nigeria one bit. Nigerians failed Nigeria. God gave this nation fertile soil, rivers that flow like veins through the heart of the nation. Nigeria is not lacking in blessings that we need to pray for. It is instead drowning in gross mismanagement. So again, what more do you want God to do for Nigeria as you fast for 100 days? What more is God meant to do for our country? To choose your leaders for you? To help you jail your corrupt politicians? To help you properly utilize all the vast resources that He has already blessed us with? There's almost no nation on the continent that should have been at par with Nigeria in development and quality of life for its citizens. If you think about just the wealth we should have from oil alone, take a look at what other countries have done with their own oil wealth. Think of what the Niger Delta alone could look like if we managed our resources better. So stop praying to God to bless Nigeria. He's already blessed us beyond what we could ever imagine. And again, when you are calling on God to save Nigeria, what exactly do you want Him to do? God is not going to run your elections for you. He's not going to run your justice system for you. He will not create a better constitution for Nigeria. All of those things were left for you to handle as Nigerians, the best that you could. But instead, we've allowed the worst to rule over us. We've placed tribe and religion over parity as a nation. We've allowed the destruction of our institutions by our fellow citizens. God didn't abandon Nigeria. Nigerians instead have laid our bed this way, and so we must lay on it. Your National Assembly members are singing on your mandate, we shall stand. One state governor cannot read his own budget figures. One state governor paid his children's school fees till graduation and is currently being welcomed home like a hero. Where do you want God to step in here? If your governor can't read his own budget figures, what do you want God to do in a situation like that? Again, we have laid our bed. Let us lie on it.
That's the same thing I have been saying for God knows how long. About the fact that most preachers who know better have decided to lie to people, to mislead people who know no better. It's like you are a child and you, behind your mind, know that your parents have your best interest at heart. And you are hoping and praying that they lead you on the right path in life. Not knowing that your parents do not have your best interest at heart, but rather they have their own best interests. They want to do the things that will benefit only them. And so whatever they are doing, they put themselves first. That is exactly what they are doing. Because I always ask myself, and some few people on this platform, I don't know if they are first-time viewers or they are regular viewers of the channel, seems not to understand or pretend not to understand my points. I have always asked this, right? Look at all the churches. I always take Nigeria because it's the largest nation in Africa. And most of the preachers are from Nigeria. And Nigeria has the highest number of churches in Africa. So I always use them as a practical example. They are the giant of Africa. How can we, as a society, be claiming that things are getting better when we do not have ordinary electricity? How can we sit here and say that our lives have become a lot more better when we are starving? How can we sit and say things are working so well when insecurity is all over the place? How can we? Aren't we liars? Or at least, aren't we lying to ourselves? How can a man of God tell you to say everything will be okay in 2025 when you don't see anything getting better? How can a man of God tell you that 2025 is going to be a year of transformation when 2024 nothing really happened? How can your daddy in the Lord tells you that pray and fast for a better year when he is unwilling to mobilize people to protest against poor governance? If your daddy had your best interest at heart, wouldn't he care about the fact that you are starving? If your daddy was so concerned about you, if your daddy really cared about you like you do to him, wouldn't he be worried about the current state of the economy in the country? Wouldn't he? And I ask myself this thing: if David Oyedepo, Enoch Adeboye, Johnson Suleimanu, and Joshua Selman, Ebedamina, and some other few men of God came together and said, this country is suffering, and that we, as servants of the Lord, cannot sit idly while God's children suffer. So we have decided to stage a civil disobedient protest. We are not going to hurt anybody. We are not going to obstruct any activities, but we are just going to sit and not do anything and let our members join us. And we will have to force government to do this and this and this. If they did that, my brothers and sisters, I can assure you 100% that things would change so quickly that your head will begin to spin. If these men of God, these powerful men of God, these popular men of God came out, form a consortium, rally the people together, and tell Tinubu that the people are suffering. Things are getting out of control. And we, as their spiritual daddies, cannot sit by in good conscience and watch this keep going. We have given you a few days to tell us how you will fix these problems that these people are facing, or there will be a civil disobedient protest. My brothers, my sisters, the speed at which things will change would shock you. Would shock you to the bones. But you know the saddest thing? They won't do it. They won't. Why? Because they are friends with the politicians. They are on the same bed with the politicians. They are getting handouts from the politicians, allegedly. They are for one political party or the other. And so they will never, ever do something like this. Because after all, it doesn't really serve their interest, does it? It doesn't really serve their interest. As long as the churches are open, and as long as the people can come to the church and give tithes and offerings and donations and sow seed, they are fine. David Oyedepo is a billionaire or multimillionaire. Enoch Adeboye, multimillionaire. Johnson Suleimanu, multimillionaire. Joshua Selman, multimillionaire. Even Ebed Amenya, whom I like, whom I really, really like and revered, is also a multimillionaire. Most of those pastors, and this other one, Paul Enoche, multimillionaire. David Adeboye, multimillionaire. David Abiome, multimillionaire. All of them, multimillionaire. So they don't care what you guys go through. They don't really care. Shame on you for not realizing this. They don't care. If you care, eat. If you care, don't eat. They don't care. If you care, starve to the bones. They don't care. If you care, sleep outside. No one cares. No one cares. The only person that cared for other people more is you. It's you who care about them more than they care about you. It's you who will go as far as it takes to defend them, but they will never defend you. When anything comes that concerns you, they won't defend you. It's never about you. It's always about them. And I hope that you guys begin to see this. I hope so. I really, really hope so. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. For when you starve to death, no one will even acknowledge that. They don't even care. They don't even know if you're a member of the church. No one cares. The only people who will suffer are your family members, are those who are depending on you. Those people will suffer. But as for the man of God, he really doesn't even care. Shame on them. Shame on them.